Hello, and welcome to Harlan is in Danger. This is a new show for Arkham Horror the Card Game content created by myself and my co-host.
Hi.
My name's Mitch, and some of you might know me as Leroy, and this is my friend Tom.
Hi, I am Tom. It is nice to meet you virtually like this.
I totally cut you off. Sorry.
That's okay.
What a
uh,
wonderful, wonderful beginning.
it's this isn't normally how it's like, right? We're normally very gracious to each other and don't cut each other off, so we're just um
So yeah, this video is just going to be an explanation, kind of introducing the show and what it's going to be about. We're going to do a couple of different things on it. Like I know Tom, you like to do campaign play-alongs. I like to do Arkham Horror, League of Extraordinary Investigators, which
mhm.
I will be getting back to next season. But we also have our own special show that we're going to be doing. But before we get into that, I thought it would be a good idea to kind of introduce ourselves just a little bit, explain like who we are and relation with maybe like the how we encountered the game would be a good start.
Yeah, I guess I can start with that. So, my partner and I bought this game, I think, on recommendation of, I think it was Shut Up and Sit Down. And we played through the core scenario, and we didn't understand it at all. I was like, I'm gonna get addicted to this. I played Magic when I was a kid. I played a lot of trading card games and deck builders as a kid. And I was like, this is how I'm gonna spend all my money, and then I just couldn't get into it. But then, right before the pandemic started, we took a cabin trip up to the mountains and brought it along and got so suddenly interested in it. Like we were just immediately enamored with just how like much narrative went into it. And pandemic started. We stopped at like a board game store on the way back from the mountain. Like the next day is like when lockdowns begun, and we were just like, all right, this is what we're doing for the next however long this lasts. So yeah,
Yeah,
that
it
was
really digs its hooks into you. I think it really escalated for me then too. I mean, I was playing it with my family before that point, but once the pandemic hit, then yeah, that's like all we did pretty
yeah.
much to kind of get through that. So it was a good bonding experience. I actually encountered it when I was in Washington.
Hmm.
So it was shortly after our MFA program had ended, and there was a friend of mine from up at the school. He wasn't in our program, but
Hmm.
he was like, "Oh, let's meet up and kind of hang out at a board game store." So we went there, and we actually found a game called Elder Sign, which is another
Yeah,
FFG Arkham themed game. It's not, I don't know, it wasn't quite
it's
as good.
fun.
But the thing that was, it's like
It's silly
it's not the
nonsense.
same. It's not
Yeah,
the
it's not the
same.
same at all, but it's a silly nonsense game. It's fun.
That's fair. Uh, we did become really enamored with it though, and that was kind of the main thing because I'd never played a board game that was so like thematically ambient and like rich with just theme. And so I was totally absorbed with that. And then I think it was shortly after the Shut Up and Sit Down review, I was like, I kind of like this game, but I kind of want something like, I don't know, a little bit deeper with strategy. And then
Hmm.
found Arkham, the card game. The rest is kind of history. So, and then we started playing the game. I think it's been
Yeah, it was that.
two.
Yeah. So little background: we went to a grad school program together. We were in an MFA together. That's how we met. We both liked games and fantasy and writing fantasy and game related or game adjacent things. And uh, became friends, I guess, a little bit because of that and because of other things probably. And then that was in Washington State. I think after you moved to California, we started playing together. Like we've only ever played virtually. I don't think we've ever played in person. And
Yeah.
and then since I moved out to Boston, this has been like kind of all my Arkham time has been playing with you. So that's kind of how we got this idea to like just start doing this.
Yeah, it was kind of like I think you had actually pitched the idea, but I was kind of feeling the urge because we played a bunch of campaigns
Hmm.
for a good long while. I think a good year and a half, maybe two, and then it was just kind of like, yeah, like why not share it with everybody?
Yeah.
And to kind of coincide with that, we had a new kind of inventive way to play through all of the Arkham Horror content, which is going to be kind of the main event for this channel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to schedule that to come out every Tuesday. So you can look forward to that. And, intermittently, every now and then we might have bonus videos, especially if they are relating to like the league or play-alongs or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
something like that. So the way that we're going to do this is we're kind of borrowing a page out of the Lord of the Rings, the Living Card Games book, and that's called Progression Challenge, or Progression Quest as it is there. So in Lord of the Rings, the card game, what you would do is in a progression mode, you can only build decks with the cards within the card pool that was released at that point. So every time you like complete a quest, you can only use cards up to that point, and then when you complete the quest, you unlock a new pack, and then you would get the player cards from that pack, and then now you can use them in your decks. So we're going to be doing likewise with Arkham Horror. The difference is you don't necessarily always play in the order of release. You start with Knight of the Zealot, and then after that point, depending on what happened in the story, you might get sent to any number of campaigns.
Yeah.
I'll let you kind of touch on how that triggers with the narrative progression.
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to kind of demonstrate this is to sort of show it. So we've done a little bit of work creating this document. This is actually a copy. Later in the video, I might do some spoilers and show you the one we've been playing off of. But for now, if you go down to this resolutions tab and click on it. So here are all the resolutions to Night of the Zealot. This is kind of spoilersy, but if you're watching this video, I'm kind of hoping you've played through the core game. And depending on what resolution we get, we'll go to either the Circle Undone, the Dunnage Legacy, the Forgotten Age, or the Path to Carcosa. The kind of thing that I think is kind of exciting about this is it sort of simulates what it was like for us to build a collection. So like when we first started out, we had this core set, but then we started like getting random packs here and there. I think both of us kind of came into this when it was like, shipping is a thing that we have to worry about. How are we going to get all these campaign cards? So my like first campaign after the Night of the Zealot, well, not my first campaign, but I ended up getting Forgotten Age way out of order. So those feel like older cards. Those feel like more staple cards for me than a lot of other folks. So we're playing that sort of angle of like, we might start relying on these cards a lot more since they're the ones that are in a collection first or something like that. So that's kind of the
Right.
fun of
Yeah,
that.
and similar story here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Circle Undone was really late in the game for me. That was like the last one.
Yeah, it was like my fourth, something like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then so we've started to do all the work. They're not all here, but if you go to like these individual campaign tabs, you can kind of go down and see like here's the resolutions for Carcosa. Don't look at these if you're not ready to see the resolutions for Carcosa. Don't pause on that. I tried to go fast, but you can also see like here's the cards that are in the core set. Here's the investigator, or in the deluxe box for Path to Carcosa. Here's the investigators that are in that box, and then down here is like for each Mythos pack. Yeah.
Yeah, and because we have victory points or experience in this game, we thought it might be fun to make a bit of a stipulation on that. So, effectively, when you play an investigator, whether they're killed, driven insane, or they complete a campaign, at that point they retire and they can't be played again through the duration of the entire challenge run. And to compensate for that, you actually have to buy new investigators with the experience that you
Yeah.
earn. So it's kind of a good idea, especially near the end of a campaign, to save some because each investigator costs 5 XP to purchase. Now,
Mm-hmm.
you can compensate for this by giving that investigator a trauma of your choice on a one-for-one basis. So if you've only got like 3 XP, you can still buy somebody, but then they have to take 2 trauma.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to avoid that as best as possible. The investigators, in that sense, aren't free. They're unlocked and available for purchase at that point. So there's kind of a shift there in when something is available. The
Mm-hmm.
cards you always get, but the investigators you actually have to buy.
Yeah.
And that also applies to some campaign and story cards if you want to kind of think about those a bit.
Yeah, so I think the thing that we kind of got excited about was the possibility to lose this challenge if we ran out of investigators to play with. So if I do show that document later, and I think I'm going to have to, you'll see that we have investigators that are crossed out because they retired. Like we took 2 investigators through Night of the Zealot and we retired them at the end of it. We can't play them again. So those of you doing math, you'll note that we only had 3 available investigators at that point and we had to buy some new ones. But sort of to put more of a wrinkle in that, we decided we wanted to also be able to buy campaign cards so that we could be tempted to not buy other investigators instead. So I have this one pulled up because we did decide the cost of this one. But if you look over here, and I have to like scroll all the way over. Oh, that's too far over. We have Lita Chandler. So she's the card we can get in Night of the Zealot, and we priced her at 4 XP exceptional. So you can spend 8 VP at the end of your campaign to put her into your campaign pool, and then later in any other campaign you can spend 8 VP again to put her into your deck.
And at that point, she's treated as just basically a regular player card.
Yeah, exactly. So she's still the same 0 cost, 3/3 soak, gives you +1 fist, and does extra damage to monsters, but she costs a bunch of experience that we just kind of tagged on there, so we could play with her in other campaigns and be tempted by her throughout the entirety of Arkham. So
Yeah, which is something you don't get to see as much in Arkham. It's kind of like story assets are really tied to their campaigns,
mm-hmm.
but since all of them are strung together now in one big massive story, it's kind of cool to be like, oh, okay, well, this is what other investigators like picked up along the way. And so like if we kind of invest that experience, then new investigators can kind of like, scavenge up the pieces and kind of piece together what had happened before,
Yeah.
which coincides with like, the sort of narrative swing of like, oh, well, if you get this resolution, then you go to this campaign, as opposed to this resolution, you go to that.
Yeah.
Um,
And we do.
and, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, we do have all the rules right here if you want to, we'll leave a link to this in the description if you want to go and like just make a copy of this document. You can take it for yourself, take it through your own sort of progression quest. We want to have this be as open as possible. All the rules are here. All the I think up to like Edge of the Earth, we have all the resolutions in place or something like that. So you can play.
Yeah, that's an. Go ahead.
Yeah, but if you have any questions, you can also leave comments down below. We're going to try and do a good job of explaining this so you don't have to do that. And I think the rules are pretty thorough. Mostly it's just Arkham with some added challenges, but
Yeah, and I mean, like, so you're welcome to play with us and leave comments and we can chat it up, but it's entirely possible that you might get sent on to a completely different campaign. And I will note too that while we've laid the groundwork here, there's still a lot of details to figure
yeah,
out as we go. So we're going to be ahead of you by, a couple of scenarios or so, but at the same time, like, we have the foundation, and as we play, we're kind of like, is like, oh, okay, now is a good time to talk about how much this card should cost XP
yeah,
wise, or what should be the resolution to take you here or there. And it's not quite a perfect system, but that's part of the fun of it, is that you can kind of follow along and see how we're piecing it together. And one of the ways we're going to compensate for all these extra XP costs is achievement VP.
yeah,
So if you complete an achievement, you can get an experience point, and it's distributed as if you played like a copy of Del 2 Deep, where you get one for everybody in the party. Some achievements, are a little bit easier than others. Some kind of make you work for it. So we're gonna pick the most interesting ones to get, just because that they're interesting, and that makes for more exciting gameplay. But you can kind of delegate that as you see fit.
yeah, yeah. I think now would be a great time to actually show that spoilery document. So if you don't want any of what we're gonna do, what we've done after Night of the Zealot spoiled, thank you for watching. This has been Harlan is in Danger. We're gonna put out videos every Tuesday going through this thing.
Changed our minds. We're not going to give you spoilers because that ruins the effect. So
Yeah,
disregard what Tom said earlier.
yeah, none of that. But yeah, still thank you for watching, and looking forward to sharing this weird journey with y'all. So,
All right, well, we're going to get to it. We will see you all in Night of the Zealot.
bye.